So now enter the American Baptists. After the Civil War ends, American Baptists got involved, especially in liberal arts education for slaves. Where the Southern Baptists would never do it, the American Baptists got involved to help those slaves to get liberal arts education so that they could be actually equal with whites in the education that they received, so that they could be more effective in ministry in particular. So I found a chapter in this book, The Foreign Missionary Enterprise at Home, show it to you. And then chapter 4 of this book, it's entitled From Native Ministry to the Talented Tenth. And this is written by J. Riley Case, and it describes how the American Baptist Home Mission Society got involved or learned what we call the Talented Tenth approach. But they learned it from the American Baptist missionaries that were in India and Burma. Every year, starting in 1867, the American Baptist Home Mission Society and the foreign group, American Baptist Missionary Society, one's home missions, one's just missionary society, they had their annual meetings together and at the same church. And so the convenience of that opened up opportunities for the American Baptist leaders to attend the home missions meeting, and then afterwards the home missions people attended the home missions meeting. And this is where they exchanged ideas on how the best practices that were being used in the mission field in India and Burma could be applied in the U.S. The native ministry, they called it, could become the Talented Tenth ministry in the black colleges that they were going to develop. The Karen missionaries in Burma, let me start with William Carey, developed the Serampore College in India in 1818 to develop Indians as missionaries. So all the way back in 1818, William Carey, the first missionary, went to leaders, develop indigenous leaders, because they know the vernacular and the culture. The white missionaries don't have a clue. So we've got to get inside and raise up indigenous leaders. And they wanted to educate them, not teach them manual skills. They wanted to teach them how to open the Bible, read it, and study it for themselves so that they could translate that Bible into the native languages and propagate the gospel. They had that vision. Well, in Burma, the Karen missionaries did the same thing, although they began talking about the 10th of the people that they could equip and train and let those 10th trickle down and go and reach their own. So those meetings back and forth, starting in 1867, built up to Henry Morehouse. His name sounds familiar, Morehouse, because in Atlanta there's a college that Martin Luther King graduated from called Morehouse College. That's named after Henry Morehouse. So 1860, I want to read just a couple of sentences out of this book so that you can capture what Morehouse was saying. The talented 10th, he says, okay, let me find the right spot. Morehouse argued for support for black colleges with the plea that while industrial education might be satisfactory for the 9, the 10th man ought to have the best opportunities from making the most of himself for humanity and God. And that 10th were the ones that they worked with, that 10th man that they wanted to train. And so those American Baptists set up liberal arts colleges, American Baptist Home Mission Society, and American Baptist Women's Society. They developed 27 liberal arts, not vocational education, 27 liberal arts education, see? So that they could learn how to use all of the topics, physics, science, math, English, the whole, especially Bible and theology, to train leaders with that good knowledge. Yeah. How many liberal arts schools did the white Southern Baptists develop? 0, nil, nada, zippo. They are not committed to that. And see, that I think deep down there's a problem with equality in that among those people. You can't know what I know. Now you got to be under me and inferior and off to the right. And so I just commend the American Baptists for their work. And in fact, the Talented 10th was picked up by Du Bois. So W.B. Du Bois wrote about the Talented 10th in his writings in The Souls of Black Folks in 1902. And he believed that black leaders must be made leaders of thought and what he called missionaries of culture among their people. So Du Bois really pushed this idea, but it came from Henry Morehouse, American Baptist Home Mission Society. Thank you, American Baptists, because this really helped give us a foundation and a model. Now, Du Bois was up against Booker T. Washington and the whole concept of vocational ministry. Booker T. believed that there should be elementary education for the masses and then come to Tuskegee for training to be a butler, a farmer, a tailor, a blacksmith. See what I mean? Print shop. But those skills that were available then, they all became antiquated, and not to mention what the computer has done, right? And so liberal arts continues. Thank you, American Baptists. So King was also supported by the American Baptists in the Civil Rights Movement. There's new monuments. They just announced this week, new monuments for Emmett Till and his mother Mamie that's going up in 3 places, Chicago and 2 in Mississippi. Emmett Till's murder ignited the Civil Rights Movement. August 28, 1955. I was 9 years old when Emmett Till was killed. And I remember my mother showing me the centerfold of the Jet magazine. The Jet magazine was small, about 8 inches by 5, and they reserved the centerfold for an attractive young lady that would wear a bathing suit. And so each month, you see a centerfold of the new young lady for the month. But this month, August, Emmett Till's picture, decomposing body in the centerfold. And man, that just gets you because, you know, my mother showed me that. Me and my younger brother, who was 2 years younger, showed us that to tell us what it's like to be a black male, that you are an endangered species. She had to have the talk with us. Rosa Parks sat down. Really, Rosa Parks was sitting in the colored section, in the first row of the colored section of the bus. If the Montgomery bus was overcrowded, the rule was if there was any white person that didn't have a seat, then they had the right to tap your shoulder in the colored section, and then you have to give up your seat because it's a white person. And so Rosa Parks was in the front row, and they tapped Rosa. Get up. And she said, no, I'm tired. I'm not getting up. Now, when you see pictures of Rosa Parks, subsequently, they put her in the front seat of the bus. But that's really not what happened, but I'm just telling you, how it really went. Montgomery boycott was televised in 1955. I remember watching it. That's how I learned We Shall Overcome. And this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Watching the marchers, yeah. King was pastor of Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. And he was a member of, his church was associated with the National Baptist Convention. Now, the National Baptist Convention at that time was had the largest number of blacks. Second was the Church of God in Christ. Now it's flipped. Church of God in Christ has the most, and National Baptist is the second in attendance. At that time, Joseph H. Jackson was the president, the black president of the National Baptist Convention. Joseph H. Jackson was the pastor of Olivet Baptist Church, 3100 South Park Avenue in Chicago. And it was what we call a mega church. His church had 20,000 members. And because he had the largest church, he became the president as a result. Now, there was another president of Olivet, another person, pastor of Olivet, that was the president before him. So Olivet had a long history of migration, people coming from the South, and they come to Chicago and join Olivet. His church grew by migration. Do you understand? So this man was a powerful person inside the National Baptist Church. And you needed his endorsement if you were going to get somewhere. But I'm going to tell you honestly that I think he also had some jealousy problems. Because now here's young Martin Luther King, PhD, a real PhD, not an honorary PhD, an earned doctorate, appointed in 1954 to this pastorate, to this church directly across the street from the Alabama courthouse, the Alabama State Capitol building, actually. And so now he's on television. And everybody's talking about Martin Luther King, not him. He's gaining notoriety and publicity, especially after the Montgomery boycott ended and the marchers won. So King was the speaker in 1956 for the National Baptist Convention. And he hit the ball out the park. He hit a home run. They loved him so much, and everybody was talking about Martin Luther King, not the old man. They're talking about Martin Luther King. And in 56, he had announced that his fourth term would be his last one. And so he was going to serve one more to 1960, and that would be his last one. He announced that. But after King did so well, he was concerned that King might want to become the next president after he stepped down. King wasn't interested in running that, but he was concerned. And so King ended up being replaced. He took him off his Sunday school job. King's father lost his position in the in the National Baptist Church. And one thing led to another. I could get into more details there. But by 1961, the Progressive Baptist that was pro-civil rights was started, and King and his father joined with the pro-civil rights people. And King also became duly aligned with the American Baptists. And King today and progressives today are duly aligned with the American Baptist Church because of this commitment that the American Baptists had to be with King, to support him. They were present for the March on Washington in August of 1963. At Selma, when King went to, in fact, there's a story that King did not have life insurance. He's marching over the bridge in Selma, and somebody asked him, do you have, an ABC person, do you have life insurance, Dr. King? He says, no, I don't. And so he ended up signing his name on a piece of paper, and that was considered his signing up for insurance policy that the ABC got for him.